Good morning, guys, and welcome to another Sims 4 speed build. This one's really fun. I'm really excited about it. So this is a base game home. I've done 2 of these now. So I build base game for fun when I'm just playing by myself. I think it's kind of a fun challenge, and it's good now, especially with all of the updates and patches and things they've done lately, to go back to base game, because some of the things that I hated before look really great now with the new swatches and stuff, for example. And also, I have been kind of goofing around with CC a little bit, and so it's fun to go back to the base game and be like, how much cool stuff can I make without having to make anyone buy packs? For example, could I make much more modern aesthetic furniture just by changing swatches and stuff? And the answer is yes, which is a different thing altogether. But my point being is I've been really into base game stuff lately. Just little, basic suburban base game homes. And that's what this is. This is a little brick house. And I had a lot of fun because I kind of tried to push myself into colors and furniture that I don't usually use, that I tend to avoid. Also, before we get too far into this, if you hear me sounding a little bit scraggly, I am unfortunately, it's not a cold. I'm not really sick. But for the last month, I just haven't had a voice, and unfortunately have had just a little bit of an allergy-based stuffy nose and cough. I'm not sick. I'm all good. I can't keep putting off voiceovers. I've put off this set of voiceovers now long enough that it's getting dangerously close to me just not being able to put stuff up on the channel, which I keep saying, and because it continues to be a problem. I just have to record voiceovers. But don't mind me. I'm not sick. All good. It's not corona or anything like that, or COVID, I guess. Nothing like that. And so we're all good. But anyways, I had so much fun with this house. This house was one of those lunch break houses where you had a long day at work and you're finally getting your lunch break and you're just kind of excited to sit and play for 10-15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes at a time. Also, if you hear the dog barking in the background, my frost free down by the corral, which for those of you who don't know, frost free is a specific kind of water spigot. It gave up the ghost. I am having someone come look at it for me because I'm not particularly plumbing inclined, but Joe is losing his mind because someone he doesn't know is on the farm. Anyways, this house, I'm going to actually talk about this house for more than 2 minutes. This house was really fun because it was a lunch break build, which means I got to work on it for 20 minutes at a time, which means I really took it room by room. So each room kind of has its own unique little feel, but it all kind of sticks together. The inside of the house and the outside of the house don't completely match. I personally kind of like that. I think it's really fun because I always think about a new buyer buying an older house or a fixer-upper. And for me, I love the aesthetic of an old home on the outside, but I am very much a modern conveniences kind of girl. I love respecting the history of the house on the inside. In the house that I currently live in, we have a bunch of old woodwork and a bunch of fun built-ins and stuff. I would never get rid of those. I absolutely believe in respecting the house and its history, but I've also, put in a barn door and some nice floating shelves, and we're gonna hang a TV on the wall, modern conveniences, right? So I like doing that in The Sims 2, where I make the house look like it's definitely an older build, but the inside, the owner has made it more contemporary, more them. Also, talking about the siding, I'm gonna take a sip of coffee. One moment. Oh, hopefully that will help. Oh, that immediately sounds better. I sound like a human again. There we go. The siding of the house is gonna change quite a bit, and somehow I made it through the entire build not realizing that the house color and the chimney color were 2 different brick. I do go back and fix it for the screenshots, but you won't see it fixed live in this build, or not live, but recorded in this build, because I literally didn't notice it until I took the screenshots on a cloudy day, and I was like, oh wow, that chimney looks weird on this cloudy day. And then I changed it to sunny with the weather machine, and I was like, nope, that chimney just looks weird. But you can't change the chimney because it matches the chimney piece, so you have to change the whole house. But this is entirely base game. It is, let's see, it's technically, so I don't know if people, I've never been able to figure out if on the Sims, gallery, for example, if we talk about what's actually set up in the house or what the house could hold. If we're talking about what the house could hold, it's 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1.5 bath, rather. It's the downstairs is just a toilet and sink. But I have one of the bedrooms styled as an office. So if you're going that way, then it's 2 bedrooms, an office, 1.5 bath. The bathrooms aren't that exciting, really. I tried to pick a color scheme for each room. The living room and the main bedroom are greens, but 2 different kinds of greens. One is a lighter sagey green, one is a little bit darker green and brown combo. The dining room is red, the kitchen is blue and orange, the teenager's room is pink and purple, and the office is yellow and black. Like I tried to, like, it's kind of, I didn't go into this build necessarily with the intention of each room was going to be a different color, but I did go into this build with the intention of using pieces that I hadn't used before, and a lot of times the piece, or not used a lot or frequently or in a long time, because the pieces that I don't use a lot are usually the brighter pieces in this game, because I don't know how to build with bright colors. But I want to learn, because The Sims really is, and I've talked about this a lot, The Sims has a very specific aesthetic. It has a very specific brightly colored aesthetic. And when you're not super great at that, you have to rely on packs that come out with the more modern muted colors. And I am broke, so I want to learn to build with the base game. Also, I think it's just fun to go back and see the original game and what they put out. I've been doing a lot of research into like the history of The Sims. God bless Plumbella and her entire history of series and stuff like that. It's fascinating what this game was and what it could have been, and thank God it wasn't. But also, like, you can really see some of the influences of, like, there was an idea for this game and that's not the game we got. But you can tell a lot with like the art style and stuff. And a lot of people have been talking about like, man, they miss the realism of The Sims 3. I don't actually miss the more realistic art style of The Sims 3. I liked it, don't get me wrong. It was nice and it was really fun to play with. And I've been seriously itching to reinstall The Sims 3, I'm not gonna lie. But that's the other thing, is I don't even know if my disc would work. So like that might be a commitment, because it may be me having to like figure out if I need to rebuy the game. Anyways, I loved The Sims 3. The Sims 3 was the first like Sims that I understood the game enough to play it well, if that makes sense. Like The Sims 2, my brother and I played a lot, but we were little. And so like I never understood how to keep a baby alive until adulthood. I could never get legacy challenges going or anything like that, because I was like in second grade. Constantly had my kids taken away and stuff. And The Sims 3, when it came out, I was so excited. When I was allowed to purchase it, I was so excited. And that was the first one where I was like, wow, I can actually like do legacy challenges and do all this stuff. I could not build to save my life. I don't think I still could build. I want to try now that I've done so much building in The Sims 4, but I could not build houses in The Sims 3. This one on a bird walk. What was I initially talking about? Oh, the art style. The Sims 3 had like a more realistic art style, which I liked, don't get me wrong. This kitchen started out really much more modern than it ends up. I really like the look of this kitchen. I might recreate something similar to it in this stage that it's in now, somewhere else, but it didn't suit the lighting or the style that I was going for here. But The Sims 3 had a much more realistic art style, and it was fun, it was great. But when The Sims 4 came out, I was like, this is kind of fun. This is a whole different vibe, and I really like it because I think the cartoony art style allows for more goofiness in the gameplay, and for me, I'm very much sort of a goofy player. Like, I know some people love the drama and love like the crazy intense storylines and stuff. Mad respect for people who do, but part of the reason I don't do Sims Let's Plays is because for me, Sims absolutely is like an escape into a goofy, funny realm where millennials can have a house and we can all be goofy, and you know, it's kind of a it's kind of like a modern day, slightly more raunchy take on like Mayberry from the Andy Griffith Show. That's how I play The Sims, as like, this is just fun, and you know, the crazy fun lifestyle things that I would love to explore, those can happen. So for me, the cartoon art style really works because it's very fun and happy and upbeat. But if when The Sims 5 comes out, if it's a realistic art style more like Sims 3, I'd be cool with it too. Because I do think the furniture in The Sims 3 was easier to build with. Of course, we had Create a Style, which helped when it worked. But The Sims 4, that's the original point I was making. Sims 4 is a very brightly colored, somewhat cartoony, very, very stylized game. And it took a long time for me to be comfortable with, especially the base game styles, but I really do enjoy them. I really think they're kind of fun. Is this a house I would live in? Not necessarily. It's very bright, and I definitely tend to be a little bit more of a farmhouse with pops of color style than a whole house being crazy colors like this. But like this room specifically was inspired because I watched the the trailer first. I saw the chimney and just like my brain latched onto that word. I watched the trailer first recently, the first trailer recently. English is fighting me today. And I was inspired by the house that was in the trailer that they built and all the different, like, I think it was actually the build trailer I watched that inspired me to do, like, these big red cutouts and stuff. So, trying to do the base game style and embrace the bright colors. English just completely failed me during the end of that. Did you hear that? The train went so far off the tracks. Oh my goodness. And the thing is, like, part of me wants to, like, stop and re-record now because I made that big mistake. But then part of me is like, that's how I talk. Literally in a professional meeting the other day, I had one of those, like, just skipped gears real hard and it didn't come out in English moments. And I used to be really embarrassed about that because I do that all the time. I used to joke that my brain moves faster than my mouth can. But it's gotten to the point where I just go, that's me. I talk stupid sometimes. I talk real goodly, you see. Yeah, also, I think doesn't help too, like I said, that I am, unfortunately, like, I don't have a cold, but I am trying to deal with, like, allergy meds and stuff, so a little rummy-headed and all the fun stuff. I thought about putting a sunken living room in here, because I thought that would be really fun, and it would break up the area a little bit, but I didn't plan. I have a hard time. If I don't plan for it ahead of time, I cannot get my brain to, like, work with the platforms, if that makes sense. Like, there's a build coming up on the channel you'll see pretty soon where I did a real floor plan to Sims conversion. First of all, that house is huge. So what I tried to do is the plan that I had, it was a 1800s something house. We'll learn about it in the build. But I tried to, like, split the floor plan dimensions in half to make it work in The Sims, and that sort of worked, like, a little bit, but still not perfect. It's still huge, and it's proving to be very difficult to furnish. So hopefully it's coming up on the channel soon. Maybe not. Maybe it'll be one that languishes. I have, like, 3 builds right now that are just in Perpetua right now. They are not... They're not working with me. I'm just wholly unhappy with how they're coming out. But anyways, the point of that was I realized after I'd built the whole thing that there was a step down in the floor plans. And I was like, oh, that's great. We have platforms. And then I broke everything. I broke everything. So this is the more, I was calling it kind of the sagey living room, going back to this build, but it's kind of not looking at it now. It's a lime living room. I think it's funny too because I watch these back on a different monitor than I build them on because I have a sort of 2.5 monitor setup, but usually during the day, I call it a 2.5, most of my desk is blocked up by work stuff or hooked up to work stuff, and so I don't usually unhook all of my work stuff during the week to be able to build and stuff. So I build on a different monitor than I would prefer to because it's just a pain, you know, during the work week because I work weird hours, and unfortunately with my job, a lot of times I'm on all day, every day. But then I get to Saturday and Sunday, and usually my boss is really, really good about protecting. To clarify, he's pretty good about protecting evenings if there's nothing major going on. But the job I work is heavily affected by the news cycle, so we're always on. But anyways, the point I was making is I unplug all my work stuff and it goes in I have a special little work shelf where all of, like, when I have a weekend or I have a few days off to completely unplug, it goes on the shelf and doesn't get touched. So it's all there right now, so I can use the other monitor. All of that was a long-winded way of saying the build looks different on this monitor than it does on the one I built it. I think I've mentioned this before. I think my other monitor is more blue. And so a lot of colors either come out a little bit sadder or more muted, or, like, in the case of this green, more sagey. I'm going to take another sip of coffee. It's mediocre coffee. Anyways, I made it so I can say that. But so it's always kind of fun watching it back and being like, oh, that is a lime green room I built. But I think it's okay. That hallway is kind of a weird thing because it was going to be kind of long and skinny and weird as a bathroom. If you need a second full bathroom, you easily could. But the other thing too is that was the bump out on the side of the house, and I didn't want the whole bump out to not have windows, which I ended up putting a window in the bathroom anyway, so it didn't matter. But when I initially added the hallway, I was like, oh, well, I want windows in at least part of this. Again, it didn't matter. I put windows in the bathroom, just, you know, close the blinds when you're gonna go use it or whatever. But so you could take that hallway and turn it into the second part of the bathroom and make, like, a second full bathroom, and that might be necessary because you do have 3 bedrooms. So if you end up using both bedrooms as bedrooms, both of the master bedrooms as bedrooms, there's not really a true master in this house. If I understand the concept of true masters correctly, which I might not, I believe they need an ensuite. This does not have an ensuite. It shares bathrooms with the other bedrooms upstairs, or bedroom/den. But it could use this upstairs bathroom, but then you'd have to make the downstairs bathroom full for the other 2 bedrooms, or figure out where to put another bathroom, which wouldn't be that hard, to be honest, because this house is essentially a box with bump outs. So it would not be hard to make another bump out. In fact, what you could even do is leave the bathrooms the way they are and take the chimney and just bump out the chimney and like make the first floor bump out, like a second floor bump out, and then you'd have an ensuite. You'd have to move the bed. You'd have to reconfigure the master, but that is an option. So yeah, this house I think would grow really nicely, and it's base game. So if you're just starting out, it would be pretty easy. I say it's base game. I haven't put it up on the gallery yet. So if there's anything in here that's a pack, it'll get switched to base game. But I'm like, I was pretty good. I think everything's base game. I hope. Having said that, I'm the worst at recognizing pack furniture too. So like I'll watch like Little Simsy, for example, and she'll do a base game. And she'll be like, oh, I used something from a pack there or no. And I'm like, how could you tell? It's a plant. How could you tell? Like, I will buy a pack and I will play with it for like 2-3 months, kind of exclusively, get through all the content, enjoy all the good stuff. And then it kind of goes into like, okay, this is part of, because I build predominantly. And so I'm like, cool, I have all this cool stuff now. It's in my like portfolio to be able to use. And then I immediately forget where it's from. Because there's been times where I'll use something and I'll be like, oh, that's Jungle Adventures. Oh, or like someone will say, I hate this pack, and I'll be like, yeah, I don't really use that pack, and I'll go look at a build and I'll be like, never mind, I lied. Never mind. This teenager's bedroom is definitely a different aesthetic than I normally do. Again, just very bright. This house is very bright, and I think it sort of got to be a little bit of a challenge in its own that way, being really bright. Because like I said, I was using the base game stuff, and a lot of it is naturally very bright. I wish we had more teenager themed posters. I've been thinking about the art in the game a lot. That was me tapping my mug, sorry. I've been thinking about the game's art a lot, and how it would be, because I've been making like wallpaper recolors, which I don't use in videos, and I've been making furniture recolors, which again I don't use in videos. But now I'm sort of moving into the, what if I made art for the game? Just like recolors of common things. One of the things I want to do, I'm moving ever so slowly into needing to actually like grow up and learn Blender, because one of the things that I can do that I learned recently, because I'm obsessed with backsplashes, right? We've talked about this. I like the backsplashes that are in the game, but I wish they weren't tied to the colors on the wall. And at first I was like, well, what if I just made a million recolors of those backsplashes? And that is not a bad idea, and I could do that very easily. I got really attached to using all of these pictures in the house. I don't know why, but the family gallery wall in the hallway looks kind of cool. But I got really attached to the idea of backsplashes that don't attach to the wallpaper itself. So it's not a wallpaper, it's its own item. And I was like, how do I do that without modding the game? Because I'm not really interested in writing code for The Sims. I have modded Minecraft before. And my understanding is that it's easier to mod The Sims than it is to mod Minecraft. But the thing that I found is, like, when I want to program on a project, I want to work on one of my own projects, not a mod. And quite frankly, I code for 10 to 12 hours a day at work. Sometimes I don't want to at home. I love programming, but I just don't want to at home. And so I'm kind of, I don't think I'll ever be that person who's like, I want this piece of thing, whatever it is, bad enough, or this item, to mod it in The Sims. But the point is I was trying to make, detachable backsplashes, and I had seen on whose build was it? Shoot, I think it was probably a Little Simsy gallery, like when she does shell challenges. A lot of people have been using custom artwork to make backsplashes and to make like custom cabinets and stuff. It's really, really cool. The thing that bothers me is a lot of times those pictures are very thick, they're chunky, and so when you put them as a backsplash, they look kind of chunky, which is not to disparage the builder in any way. I'm gonna sip some coffee one moment. I can hear myself getting gravelly, which is not to disparage the builder in any way, but it's just a look I don't prefer necessarily. And so I've been trying to figure out if I can take posters and just as they are in the game, recolor them into backsplashes. The problem is, the Sims team, most of the posters are not an entire wall tile long. So when you stack them up next to each other, they don't line up. And I know you could use move objects and just like whoosh them together. But that's not really what I want, right? Like, if I'm going to force you to individually place your bits of backsplash, I want them to slot together fairly nicely. Like, you're already going to have to use turn move objects on so that you can put them next to each other. But I don't want you to have to, like, all place them and stuff too. And almost all of the posters I've tested are like that, except the guitar one from, I think it's Get to Work. I'm unsure. So then it turned into, well, how do I just make a poster in Blender so I can make it base game? Because basically all I have to do is take, like, the bunnies that, you know, like, stack up and just make them whiter. Make their, like, little model thing whiter. But anyways, I don't remember how I got started on this, but that's what I've been doing lately, is trying to figure out how to make backsplashes. I don't remember where that conversation was initially going. That walked a long way off from where it was. But I was thinking I was talking about the colors because I've been making a lot of custom stuff in CC just for fun. When I'm hanging out, and, like, because there's times where I really want to play The Sims, but I don't, like, actually want to play The Sims, like, you know, where you're like, I really want to be doing something with this world that they've created, but I have no interest in actually engaging with The Sims. CC is great for that. That's really fun. But in the interim, it means that a lot of the CC I want to create, I'm trying to make it base game, and so I'm trying to get used to, like, what we have base game. And I was really excited about this house too, because the stuff I put in there, I'm like, cool, because a lot of this is base game. I can do the recolors and replace it in this house. This house is already kind of set up for base game really nicely, so I could restyle it over and over and over again. It could work as a palette, or a template rather, which is really, really nice, because it has a lot of the base stuff. So I can be like, okay, so if I want to recolor this, then I also need, you know, dining room furniture and stuff. I think it could be really cool. Because, again, I love a lot of the base game stuff. Some of it is just either really bright or it's really, like, dated colors, which is interesting. And saying that, I know if I update the colors in, like, well, in another 7 years, if this game is still, you know, popping, and we're all going to be like, those are such dated colors. Why is everything rose gold? Funny how this is a much longer build than I thought it was going to be. Also, I kind of glossed over it, but that yellow and black office space is not my personal style, but I could so work there. It was so bright and happy. I could so work there. I think there's a universe in which I could do an entire house in colors in real life, like, kind of like this one, but maybe a little less blocky and modern, and just be super happy. I alternate very wildly between, I like muted things that everything goes together nicely and it's very calming, and, like, yeah, let's do everything bright orange. My personal, like, style, if you can say I have one, is jeans and sweatshirt. We've talked about this, but the sweatshirts are varying stages of in-your-face neon colors, which I love. So, you know, there's a place in my heart for bright colors. That being said, it looks like we're at the end of the build, so I'm going to let you watch the screenshots, and I'm going to take a break from talking at you. I had a great time talking. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. I really hope you enjoyed this build. It's super fun to go back to the basics. I think we're going to do this again soon and maybe try, like, a slightly different style and see what we can get at. But I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope you're having a wonderful week. I hope the world is treating you kindly and that you are able to be kind to others, and the world is a better place for you being in it. Just remember that. I love you all, and I'll talk to you all very soon.